Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Once a DJ. If you'd like to support the show, then head to onceadj.com/support to find out how you can help. If you'd like to get in touch with any feedback or suggestions, email onceadjpodcast@gmail.com. Once a DJ is produced by the good people at Remote Control. If you'd like to find out more about working with them, head to remote-ctrl.co.uk. Time for the show. Once a DJ is brought to you with the support of Vinyl Underground Record Store. Since 1993, VU has been shipping new and used underground house, techno, disco, hip-hop, soul and more worldwide from Northampton in the UK. They're your go-to store for upfront releases, repressed classics and deep digging for undiscovered gems. And they're a great crew to deal with who really care about the music and their customers. To show the support to the Once a DJ community, they're giving you 10% off your next order. Just head to vinylunderground.co.uk and use the code ONCEADJ10 at checkout. You also get free UK delivery on all orders over £100. That's ONCEADJ10 at vinylunderground.co.uk. Welcome back to Once a DJ. I'm delighted to have with us Keb Darge, a DJ's DJ, a high-level digger, and someone hugely sort of influential in the world of deep funk and that sort of thing. And I'm sure there's probably way more that we could say at this point, but I think it's best if we just kick off and first of all, just see how you're doing today.
I'm doing fine, Lou. I just got out of bed to speak to this nice man in front of me just now on the screen.
Oh, you do flatter me. So what we'll do really is if we could just kind of go through your story and just see where it takes us.
Okay.
So first of all, as I mentioned, I've got my research and my AI, and my AI says that you grew up in a small mining village. Is that right?
Absolute shite. Mining village. I grew up in a wee village, Craigellachie. It was a distillery. There was 2 distilleries at the village, and that was it. And the Rivers Bay, beautiful part of the world. You know, I appreciate it a lot more now that I'm an adult. But yeah, wee Highland village up near Elgin, which was the major city. And then I moved into Elgin when I was about 11 and that. So, yeah, fucking mining. There's no mines up there. It's all solid granite. They're not going to mine anything there.
Right, that's me done with AI then.
A load of shite.
So, what were your first sort of memories and experiences with music?
Well, a very weird one, which is quite an interesting story, possibly for your listeners. So I was in Craigellachie. And in Elgin, there was a London-type gangster, Benici, who'd fled London, and he ran a club called the Two Red Shoes in Elgin. This is when I was about 7 or 8 years old, so 1963, 64. The problem was he couldn't sell alcohol at his, for some local though, he couldn't sell alcohol at his Two Red Shoes, but he could sell it at Craigellachie Town Hall. Craigellachie's got a population of 70 people. So he was friends with Epstein, and I was hanging out my bedroom window as a 7-year-old looking at the Craigellachie Town Hall, which was a Nissan hut really, and motorbikes and cars and tractors arriving from all over the Highlands and all that, and then this music blaring out, and I'd hear some of the stuff I was hearing on the radio through the daytime and thinking, wow, why are all these hundreds of teenagers coming to the Craigellachie Town Hall? And I'd hear things which I later found out that, oh, that's a song by the Kinks, or that's a song by the Beatles. I did some research a few years ago. It wasn't a song, but it was the fucking Kinks, and it was the Beatles. They did their first British date on their first British tour was in Elgin with Benici, and he got them to play at the Craigellachie Town, well, it wasn't a town hall, but town hall, so he could sell alcohol and make a fucking profit and all that. And all these, the Stones, all that lot were playing in this tiny wee hall across from my house when I was a wee boy. I'm like, bloody hell. I didn't realise it was them until 50 years later, but that was the story. Benici had lived in London, pals with Epstein and all that, and was hiding out up in Elgin for some reason and getting the big bands up.
Because when you said Epstein, I wasn't sure if you meant Brian Epstein.
Oh, Brian Epstein,
that's crazy.
Yeah. I know for that area. Well, fair enough. But yeah, that was my first experience, but I didn't really pay much attention to the music then. I remember playing in the school playground singing She Loves You, Yeah, 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 and all that when it was a hit. But I didn't pay much attention to music. Right the way through, I wasn't interested in music. I eventually moved into Elgin, the big city, with a population of 20,000 and all that, and got into taekwondo. I got into a fight at school with like 30 blokes, got the shit kicked out of me, wound up in hospital, came out of hospital, thought I'd better reassert myself, picked on David Benton, who I hadn't fought with for a few years, and the fucker just cracked me in the ribs with a sidekick. Then as I'm falling down, he hit me on the back with an axe kick. I'm like, what the fuck was that? So it's taekwondo. I go to the RAF base and learn taekwondo. This was before the Bruce Lee films had got to Britain, so I was like, how the fuck did he do that? I'm lying there like bleeding. Can I come? Aye, we go on a Tuesday and Thursday and a Saturday morning. I'm like, right, I'm joining the taekwondo. So I joined the taekwondo class at the RAF base, which is at Royal Air Force Base, RAF Lossiemouth, which is about 2 miles from my house. And all that. And I was doing taekwondo, happy. And then they had a taekwondo Christmas party on the base in 73, I think it was. And I went to the Christmas party, and it was all the sort of pop hits of the day. And then I saw these 3 guys walk up to the DJ with a handful of 7 inches and start yapping to the DJ and hand him these 7 inches. What's going on? I was looking at the women. Then this music came out, and it was like really exciting Motown stuff that wasn't Motown. It just sounded a bit more wild. And these 3 boys got up and started dancing and spinning and doing tricks, flipping over, blah, 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 like break dancing in 1973. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And all that. And then my mate, who was from Newcastle, he was an RAF boy, okay, but it's Northern Soul. I was like, what the fuck's Northern Soul? Oh, there's an all-nighter in Dundee or a club in Dundee next weekend. Do you fancy coming? I thought, okay then. So from taekwondo, my mate Mick Thompson, he's now Grand Master 9th Dan Michael Thompson, took me. We didn't actually go, I remember that. No, he told me about the Dundee thing. I went off on my own through to Dundee to this Northern Soul club and just sat there watching the dancers, listening to the music and thinking, fucking hell, this is brilliant. This is so exciting. You know? That's where I bought my first record, was at that club. At the nightclubs, Northern Soul nightclubs then, they all had record bars. And I was sitting there listening and, oh, fucking hell. And eventually, after about 4 hours, I picked up the balls to go to the DJ and say, what was that one? Oh, that was the Human Beings, Nobody But Me. And into the record bar, have you got a human beings? Got human beings? Got human beings? And then one guy says, yeah, there you go, £2. Oh, thank you very much. And that was the start of it. And then from then on, it went down to Wigan Casino virtually every weekend. I moved down to Wigan in 1976 so I could go to the casino every week and all that. And that was me hooked on Northern Soul.
So with Northern Soul, I know a little bit about it. It's I'm not particularly into it myself, but what was the kind of ecosystem with it? So was there like certain people that were importing everything? Was it coming through like a couple of people, or was there people sort of around?
No, there was a guy, oh Christ, I can't remember his name, from Birmingham. In 1969, was it not Tony Warrett? Maybe I'll remember his name later. But a guy for the sort of mod scene had been fed by British released American soul and other stuff, and British bands, you know, like the Pretty Things and all that, doing R&B type stuff. And this guy worked out that the pop charts, soul and Motown started fittering away in the early 70s, and it started getting a more funky beat. And that wasn't good enough for the folk that wanted that Motown 4 to the floor beat. So this guy, Tony Worrell, anyway, he thought, fuck it, I'm going to go to America and look for records. So he flew over to America. He came back with a pile of records. He went to the Twisted Wheel in Manchester and handed the DJ a couple of records. One of them was, I wasn't there, but I spoke to folk that was Baby Reconsidered Leon Haywood, which nobody heard before then, Rick. So these records came on and the crowd like, what the fuck is this? Within a year, approximately 200 people from the north of England and a couple from Scotland had gone to America looking for records. 2 of them settled in America. What's his name? Martin Capel settled in Detroit first, then moved to Canada. And then, oh God, what was the fiddly diddler's name that did all the bootlegs? You're talking to an old man here, memories are gone. Anyway, this other guy of French, Lebanese descent settled down in San Francisco and they were soaking up records, and you could get them. I went over later on, you could get them for nothing. Nobody wanted them in America at all. So they get them at a penny a time and shipping over loads of records and all that. And supplying their mates to sell to the DJs, and the DJs would play them covered up most of the time. They'd put a fake name on the record, play them for 6 or 7 months. By doing that, the record got more interest because nobody knew what it was. Then when it was announced, the bootleg would come out and, a few thousand folk could buy a bootleg of the record, and then the collectors and other DJs would be hunting for another original. And there was folk going back and forth to the States. So I'd go to Wigan Casino every week near enough, and you'd go into the record bar and there'd be Mick Smith there just back from the States, there'd be Tim Ashabenda just back from the States with a box of records to flick through and all that. So records were readily available because the only other people, when I was going to the States, that wanted them at the time, and this was early 80s I went, I'd go and I'd find like an old closed down radio station or a distribution warehouse that had shut down in 69 or something, and you'd track it down and get in there up to your knees in water sometimes, or rats fiddling about, and go through the records. And the guy that owned it would be there, and you'd like, I've got this much money in my pocket, I'm going to buy these and I'm going to fucking hide these somewhere and come back in 2 or 3 months and get them. So I'd do that. Then 2 or 3 months later, I go back and, where's the fucking records? A load of Japanese bought them all. Them all? Or a load of Belgians, which shocked me. A load of Belgians bought them all. And the only 3 people, British, Japanese and Belgians, were the ones looking for old 45s of soul music, weird instrumentals, etc. So there's a big fallacy about the Northern Soul scene at Wigan, that it was all about soul and celebrating American black music and all that. No, it wasn't. It was celebrating dancing. We fucking loved dancing, and 30-40% of the records were by white artists, Frankie Valli, all those boys, loads of them. So it was exciting dance music, and for me, at first, this is leading on to how I became a DJ, I wasn't interested in DJing. I wasn't that interested in what the records were. I was just fucking off my tits dancing, having a great time dancing to these records. But then, I'm living in Aberdeen. This is before I moved to Wigan. I got a university at Aberdeen. I'm at Aberdeen, and nobody in Aberdeen knows what Northern Soul is. There's not a person there knew what it was. I thought, holy shit. Right, I'd better start buying some of these records and giving them to the local DJs on a Thursday night or something so I can have a dance, You go to university, you go out at night through the week as well. Back then, there was clubs on every night of the week. And there's one club called Fusion on not Union Street, can't remember the name of the street, in Aberdeen. Had a guy called Jonathan Scott DJing at it who liked black music and was playing the hits, but, Teddy Pendergast for the day off sound and all that, and I'd hand him a few records and, could you play these so I can have a dance? And I'd have a fucking dance, and because I'd done the taekwondo, I could do the fancy dancing quite well. And I was
going to ask you that.
Yeah, I was pretty good at that. Spinning about doing that, and I'd always get a tap. I was hoping for a tap on the shoulder from young ladies saying, "Ooh, how did you learn to dance like that? Perhaps you'd like to come home with me." But no, it was always blokes. How the fuck do you learn to dance like that? I'm going to Wigan next Saturday, do you want to come with me? And I started taking folk, and eventually we got fucking hundreds, if not thousands, in Aberdeen into Northern Soul. Which point, so you don't need to ask many questions, at which point this guy, Jonathan Scott, says, Keb, I'm going to open a fucking soul night on a Sunday at the Royal Hotel and all that, do you fancy DJing? I'm like, fuck, if I'm back from Wigan in time, because I was hitching then, it took about 12 hours to get to Wigan and back, etc. So I'd say, all right, then if I'm back in time, and I'd, as long as you play some that for me to dance to. He says, Keb, I don't know your records, you're going to have to play them, you're handing me too many records now, you're going to have to play the records.
Can I just stop you and just ask you what it's like hitching for 12 hours repeatedly?
I was young. Eventually I moved to Wigan, so I was obviously, I'd rather be there and have a 5-minute walk. So yeah, it was great fun. I liked the hitching, with some adventures hitching, some weird ones and all that. There's a...
And any that stick in mind?
Oh, tremendously, yes. Yeah. Do you want this one? It's quite a weird one.
Love to,
and
yeah.
people will think I'm a fucking weirdo. So I'm on a fucking roundabout, hitching for a lift. So you're coming... back then, it wasn't all motorway and dual carriageway, you know. So I'm on this roundabout and there's this fucking car going round and round. This was actually going to Clifton Hall, Rotherham. This car going round and round and roundabout as I'm hitching. Then the guy fucking pulls up. And that's like, where are you going, son? I'm going to Rotherham, Clifton Hall. Or Rotherham. Oh, I'm going to whatever. I can't remember the name of the town. It's about 20 miles short. Just hop in. So I gets in with the guy. And he starts yapping to me, so, yeah, I've just been in trouble. I've been trying to find my brother. I can't find him. This is a fascinating story. I was caught in Basling at work, and boss is old-fashioned. He wants me to be chastised, but I don't know who to turn to. I'm thinking, what, you want me to fucking scalp your arse with a cane or something? Yeah, I'll do that. Oh, we'll have to find somewhere private off the road. So he turns up he turns up this fucking dirt track. And I'm not worried because I'm fucking, at the time I was Scottish taekwondo champion. So I'm not fucking worried, pal. He says, I need someone to cane me. So we goes into the woods. He gets this cane out of the back of his fucking car. And a lovely case, all beautifully oiled cane. And so we can find a tree. Gets on this tree and clings onto this tree. Okay, no, you need to leave marks. The boss wants to see marks. I'm like, all right, pal. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Fucking. That was it. We get back in the car. The minute we get back into the car, before that, he's all heaving and breathing. And we get back in the car. Did you see the football on Saturday? A marvellous score. I'm like, fucking hell, boy. I said, right, you're taking me straight to Clifton Hall in Rotherham now. And he did. He drove me to the doorstep with the all-nighter. And I ran in ready to tell everyone. I thought, holy shit, what are they going to think of me? Well, I better keep this quiet. So I've kept that one quiet for about 40 years. That's a hitchhiking story. Anyway, the hitchhiking...
Is that an exclusive?
Yeah, aye. I don't think
Amazing.
I've told it before, aye. So the hitchhiking stories, I've told mates. It was fun. I was I enjoyed adventure and all that. That was adventure for me. But I got fed up with it. And sometimes I set off one time to go to Wigan for the fucking... No, I was going to Barnsley, was it? For an all-nighter on the Friday, then Wigan on the Saturday. And this was from Elgin. I arrived in fucking Aberdeen at 11 o'clock at night. I was getting lifts on the back of tractors. Right, where are you going, son? Wigan. Where's that? Down by Manchester. I'm going to Ochtermuchty Farm at the end of this road. Get in the back. And it was like a 1 mile lift and then another 2 mile lift. So I never made it to Aberdeen. So I thought, fuck this. So I was in... We arrived one Friday, me and Speedy for Aberdeen got in on a Friday once into Wigan before the all-nighter. I got to sleep in the police station. That was very nice of them. And they were, what are you doing and all that? So we're looking for somewhere to sleep. We're outside trying to sleep. Come and sleep in the police station. So they put us in the cells for the night, which was nice. They were like, it's a cold night, you get in the cells. When was it? The next morning, Russ Winstanley, who was one of the DJs at the casino, had a stall in Wigan Market selling records. So I went to have a look at the records and I just thought, might as well ask the fucker, Russ, do you know any jobs down here? Going, yes, my mate round the corner's looking for a barman living at the Grand Hotel on Dornan Street there. I said, oh, really? Oh, what's his name? I'll phone him for you, Keb. Hold on, I'll be back in 20 minutes. There was no mobile phones then. And then, okay, can you go around and see him now? And that was it, start Monday. I'm like, yes, I'm in Wigan. 3-minute walk to the casino. Done. And I was very happy.
So, with the taekwondo then, so you were the Scottish champion. That must have been seriously sort of time-consuming. How often were you training?
Before Wigan took over, I was training like fucking, oh God, I don't know. I mean, there was 3 official classes a week. 2-hour classes, but then me and Gordon Wallace and Greg Chesser would get together and fucking train in a garden or shit like that. We were keen as fuck. So Elgin, there's not much to do, you know. Then it was, well, there's nothing to do now, I suppose. Small town and all that, and taekwondo was, woohoo, this is our future. So I'd be, you know, doing the splits at home while watching television, stretching myself and stuff like that. So getting yourself into condition takes a long time. So I was doing all of that. You know, I was working at a distillery for a year. I did that to get some money in my pocket, and I used to get I used to sit on the workbench, put my legs apart, and get Big Willie to drive nails in, and then push my leg behind the nail, then stick cork bungs in to push my leg further back, and I'd sit there like this, getting stretched by the workmen at the distillery. So I was keen as fuck, so I was training all the time. I loved it.
So once you went to Wigan, were you able to keep doing it, or was that the end of it for you?
I packed in the when all the time I was at Aberdeen, I was doing the taekwondo. Then when I moved to Wigan, I wasn't doing any training. It was picked up again when I moved down to London. I moved to London in 1979. You know so that period I wasn't training, 76 to 79. Didn't train. Then I started again.
So just before I interrupted you before, we were talking about your first experience DJing.
Aye. First experience was my ego was boosted, like, ooh, you know. By that time, you see, I'd taken loads of folk down to Wigan for Aberdeen, and there was nowhere for them to dance to Northern. Then suddenly Jonathan Scott puts on this night with me, giving them Northern. And he was playing the hits of the day, and most of them were going fucking shite pop nonsense. Then I'd come on and we right Northern, and I was like, yeah, this is good. I like this woohoo thing. The biggest thing buzz I got in those early days of DJing in Aberdeen, I was at the Blackpool Mecca one night. No, I was at the casino on this 1 week, and they played a record, Ron Holden, I'll Forgive and Forget, for the first time. First time out in the UK for this record. Comes on the decks, oh, you fucker, that's good. Oh, we must find out what that is. The next week, I'm at the Blackpool Mecca, and there's a guy at the record bar with a Ron Holden in there for £7, which was a week's wages back then. I'm like, oh, fucking hell, £7, that's a lot of my money. You know, my mum will kill me if I spend that on a fucking record. Then I get another guy's hand reaches for it, fuck it, I'm buying the Ron Holden. So then I'm back up in Aberdeen on the Sunday, and I put the Ron Holden on, and oh, Keb's got that record from Wigan. Oh, they're all appearing at the decks. Then a fucking week later, a few folk from Edinburgh and Dundee turn up at our night because Keb Darge has got that record. And I thought, yeah, get the special records and all that. So from then on, I was looking for, you know, things that hadn't been bootlegged. Before that, I was just buying the fucking bootlegs and, you know, cheaper records that had been played a few years before. And then I thought, no, I'm getting the special records. I'm getting the ones that no other fuckers got, or Richard Searlin or one of the big DJs has got, but nobody else. And I'm going to hunt out the dealers that get those big records. And that was the start of me buying those big records. There you go.
Once a DJ is brought to you with the support of Vinyl Underground Record Store. Since 1993, VU has been shipping new and used underground house, techno, disco, hip-hop, soul and more worldwide from Northampton in the UK. They're your go-to store for upfront releases, repressed classics and deep digging for undiscovered gems. And they're a great crew to deal with who really care about the music and their customers. To show the support to the Once a DJ community, they're giving you 10% off your next order. Just head to vinylunderground.co.uk and use the code ONCEADJ10 at checkout. You also get free UK delivery on all orders over £100. That's ONCEADJ10 at vinylunderground.co.uk. I wanted to create a product for the listeners to be able to support the show and for the guests as a token of gratitude for being on, so I've teamed up with Sure Shot Shop to create some Once a DJ 45 RPM adapter clamps. These are my weapon of choice as a 45 adapter, as they add stability and grip to aid you in any setup. These are available for £25 each plus flat fee postage from onceadj.bigcartel.com, and if you'd like to see the other models you can buy and also customise, check out sureshotshop.com. With Northern then, did people tend to be quite open about what the tunes were and the artists and stuff, because it was quite a flex to have those records?
Not sure what your question means. The thing about Wigan and the thing about Northern Soul was the dancing. People went there to dance to records with the beat they wanted. They didn't care who the fucking artist was. They just wanted that sound. You know, the Northern scene's changed. Nowadays, it's nothing like the scene I knew. You know, it's all very political and boring and dull as fuck, clutching their hearts to show how soulful they are. It's like, bleh, bleh, sickening. No, that was off the. Virtually everyone there, apart from me, I did gear for 6 months, but everyone there was off their heads on speed, and all they wanted to do was dance, 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 dance. So you got all kinds of weird instrumentals which had nothing to do with soul music. You got lots of great soul music. A lot of garage music was played there. It was just a mixture of anything with the correct beat. Is that what your question meant, or what?
Not really. It was more like, just on the side, I think sometimes you'll get, so say with the sort of funk scene and stuff, there was a lot of people would, in certain, say like in the battles in the sort of early hip hop days, they'd be like covering the labels and stuff so that you couldn't see what the record was.
Yeah.
It sounds like with Northern, there was a lot more openness about what the record was.
Oh, no. All the records were covered.
Right.
No,
okay.
the records were all covered. It was after they'd been made popular, or mainly it was after another DJ got a copy. Someone found out what it was, got a copy. That's when it was uncovered. But Sailing had records covered. Well, Butch today, there's a guy called Butch today who's got cover-ups that he's been playing for 25, 30 years, and still nobody knows what they are. He's still the only one with those copies.
Wow.
And so, yeah, records were hidden. Yeah, it was a complete ego thing. I got into it once I started to get records that hadn't been played that were good. I started covering up myself and all that. I realised it was complete ego. It was like, yeah, fuck you, I can play this set, and none of you fuckers can, because these records are all mine and nobody knows what they are, baby. And that was it. A lot of the DJs from the scene will say, we did it to protect the artists from bootleggers. Did you fuck? You did it to, show off you've got fancy records and they don't.
Yeah, but I guess you've kind of, if you want to stand out from the others, it's a powerful way to stand out as a DJ, isn't it? And you want to get more DJing and you want to kind of be well thought of in a scene. So it makes sense, really.
Well, as long as they're killer records, you're not covering up pish,
Yeah.
Today, some of them cover up pish. What the fuck's the point in covering up that? Is shit. So, you had to pay good money to the dealers to get fucking... Eventually, I was going out and finding them myself, but for the first 10 years, at least, I was paying good money to the dealers to get someone nobody knew. And I'd play it on the phone to folk and see if anyone knew it. No, don't know that, don't know that. Don't like, cover it up. Nobody knows it. And it was great.
So as you got those records then, were you... sort of the more of those records you got, did you get more bookings, which then meant you could kind of justify spending the extra to get the rarer stuff?
I never worried about justifying spending the extra. So another additive to this story was I didn't take gear, but I used to break into chemists and pinch gear and sell it, sneakily to get money for records and all that. But where were we now? Ask that again.
So I was just asking if you were kind of getting more bookings, which then justified provided the funds to be able to get those.
Not for a few years. No, I was just doing the odd Scottish thing. I moved down to London in '79. This is when I sort of took off as a DJ. Moved down to London in '79. I sort of conveniently hooked up with a few of the really big, like Dave.
Tell you what, let's just rewind a bit then, because we'll come on to this, because I've not properly asked you about Wigan.
Okay.
So was it about 7 years, did you say, that you were in Wigan?
Yeah. No, I was only there for a year.
Oh,
I was
sorry.
going from Aberdeen, then Edinburgh, then from London. When I moved to London, I was going to Wigan virtually every week. But I only lived in Wigan for a year. Then the hotel got bought out and they got rid of the live-in staff so they could use the bedrooms for guests. So I lost my place to stay in Wigan and went up to Edinburgh then. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, so you went to Edinburgh before London?
Yeah, Edinburgh before London, right.
So how was Edinburgh then?
Great. They had a tremendous northern scene already. Before me, they had a big scene. Jolly, one of my heroes, a guy called Jolly from Edinburgh, was the one that I copied his dancing, really, and he taught me about records, what was rare, what wasn't there, what was worth buying and all that. It was my mentor was a guy called Jolly from Edinburgh. They had tremendous all-nighters at Clouds in Edinburgh, which Richard Searling, the Wigan DJ, said it was the best all-nighters he'd ever been to, was Clouds, much better than Wigan. I didn't think so, but they were good. And so Edinburgh had a great scene then, yeah.
Do the scenes vary a lot in the northern from city to city?
Yeah, it depends on the venue they get, So Casino was a fucking beautiful venue, and they haven't found one as nice since, I don't think. And what was the Hall? Clouds in Edinburgh was a fucking great venue. The Marriott Hall in Dundee wasn't as nice, and Aberdeen we had the Music Hall, which was okay, but not as nice as, so it depended on which the venues were in the city you were in. You needed a wooden dance floor, and that dance floor had to have a bit of fucking give in it. Otherwise they couldn't do your fancy spins and tricks and all that properly. Yeah.
Did you compete in Northern dancing? I swear I've seen a clip of it.
Yeah, you would have done. No, I didn't compete in Northern dancing. After disco arrived and fucking Saturday Night Fever, they had the EMI World Disco Dancing Championships. And they had heats in Aberdeen. And me and all the Northern Soul troops thought, come on, let's go and take the piss out of the cunts. So we all go down to this. It was at the Beach Ballroom in Aberdeen, 1979, was it? Yeah, 79. And they announced the prize money. I'm like, holy fuck. And I look at this mate of mine, Willie Fiston, I'm like, fucking hell, I'm going in. I don't care if I get the piss taken out of me. 500 fucking quid, I'm in. And all that. So I entered the fucking competition there, won that, then did the next sheet. Edinburgh was it? Won that. And then down to London, that's the one you've seen, is the finals in Leicester Square. I can't remember the name of the venue they did it at, but you've seen that. That was me dancing and that. But it wasn't a Northern Soul thing. It was a fucking glitter and wiggle your tits about ballet dancers. And I came on. If you actually look at the video closely, you'll see my face. So I'm coming out to just dance Northern style. And there's this wanker with fucking shiny church sing, use the whole floor, smile, use your hands more. Like, what do you mean use my hands more? I'm dancing. They wanted me to do the sort of show dance. I'm like, I didn't do show dance. I just dance in a wee corner normally. We don't have enough room to use the whole floor. And I wasn't enjoying that, but that's what you saw was that.
Yeah.
I got plenty of money from fucking winning the first couple of heats and that, and bought loads of records with the money, so I was very happy with it. But I didn't fit in that world. There was fucking agents came round the hotel. We stayed at the Royal Horse Guards Hotel, which for me back then, I was Scottish scum, was really posh. Mum, I'm at the Royal Horse Guards, mum. And all that. And all these agents, would you like to sign for my dance troupe? We have a contract with Granada Television. I'm like, get the fuck out. I dance at clubs. I'm not interested. Which was silly, because I could have made money.
Yeah. So you mentioned Jolly just before.
Aye.
Now, I think something I wanted to ask you about was, because for a lot of people, you're a certain level of DJ knowledge, experience.
Oh, yes. Higher, bring your hands up higher.
So then it's like, there's always someone who knows more or feeds, we all learn from people. So it'd be interesting to hear more about how that relationship came about.
Okay.
And
So Jolly wouldn't be the one for that. Jolly was the early days that taught me stuff. And then I studied Richard Searling, so the DJ at Wigan Casino, which if you ask any real Northern Soul punter, not these pretend wankers that went once or twice, but the regulars, who was the best DJ in Britain in the 70s? Richard Searling. He was getting supplied by John Anderson, who was the biggest record supplier in the world of soul music, etc. Warehouses in America and here with millions of records, Scottish guy, and he supplied Searling with Unknowns covered up and all that, and there you go, Richard, I got a new tune for you. And the records were fucking tremendous, and nobody knew what they were, and they were always very rare. John Anderson made sure that even if people did find out what they were, they're not going to find this record because it's, it was a 200 press only, blah, 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 and there's probably 10 copies left existing. So Searling, I studied Searling to the letter. And it was just the basics of make sure your records are top notch. Don't play half-baked records that have got the beat but are not quite there. Play just perfect records. Make sure the records are things that other people aren't going to get easily. And all that. So covering up will protect you for a while, but unless the record's there, as soon as it's uncovered, if it's on ABC or RCA or something like that, they're going to fucking find it. So go for the obscure labels. And he didn't tell me. I just watched the fucker.
Yeah.
And all that. So I based myself, and still do today, on what Richard Searling was doing at the casino. It was exciting for me as a customer. I thought, well, if it's exciting for me, it's going to be exciting for others. And if I do it, maybe I can bring that excitement to some other people as well. So I copied Searling to the letter.
Yeah. So what was it that took you then from Edinburgh to London?
A bit of a rough one. I was trying to disappear with, there was a guy selling bum gear. So there was, people died. There was an all-nighter at Wakefield, and they found 6 dead bodies in the morning. And all that. And then there was a couple of other deaths, etc. Our mate Bruce died from bum gear at Bum Speed. He died in Edinburgh. And then me and a few others sort of pieced together this grey Jaguar had been seen outside selling gear to the troops, to the Northern Soul punters, at every scene when someone died. So we tracked down the grey Jaguar and chastised them. And then I thought, I better get away before the police find us. Because we went quite wild. You know, I was actually sick after it. I thought, fucking hell. So I thought, I better get out of this. Because, you know, I didn't know, but I assumed half of me was singing, fuck me. You know, we're going to get done for supreme violence. So I disappeared to London. And my sister was living in London at the time. She's 7 years older than me. So it was an easy place to go. And I can stay down in London.
Right. Are you happy to keep that in?
That doesn't matter, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just checking.
Mm-hmm. I'll get arrested next week at the police. Right, you're Grey Jaguar, 1977, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. One of those guys died. Oh, did he? Oh, fuck.
So I'm thinking of getting you on a podcast now. I've heard people come on your podcast and get sent down. That'll be the end of me.
Christ, that'll be the end of you.
So what was it like landing in London? What area were you in?
When I first came down, I remember the Grenfell Tower that burnt down. I was at the tower next to it, Adair Tower. So that's where we were. I sort of thought, I'm going to get out of Northern Soul. That's me finished with Northern after that event and all that. I'm not going to bother with Northern Soul. And I started going to Wally clubs or normal clubs. I'd go to the Camden Palace and Steve Strange and Rusty Egan. And Steve Strange was, hey, I remember you from Wigan. You're the dancer, aren't you? They used to call me Hercules or something. Not Hercules, Tarzan or some cunt like that. They had a nickname for me. I got the dance. Oh, would you come and dance for us here? Oh, for fuck's sakes. I don't like this. I don't like this.
What year was this?
79.
Right.
79, I moved to Wigan. I got a girlfriend in London, Michelle and all that, and took her to clubs, etc. And then I thought, fuck this, I'm fed up. I'm moving back to Aberdeen. I can't handle London. It's really boring and everyone's a wally. So me and Michelle moved to Aberdeen. Went to a Northern Night there, bought Echoes. Do you know Black Echoes? It used to be called Black Echoes, then it became Echoes. It was a newspaper every week for black music fans in the 70s and all that. So I got Echoes. Fucking the back page, looking at what clubs are on, and it says 60s Soul Nights, London. I thought, oh shit, they're starting a fucking Northern Night in London after I've gone. So I moved back down to London. I went to the 60s club, which was run by A.D. Crosdale, who I now work with at Ace Records, and that. And I was like, ooh, but they wouldn't play Northern, they were just playing 60s soul, which is a huge difference. A lot of people can't judge that. I've seen some compilations come out, and it's just 60s soul. That's not fucking Northern, that's 60s soul. There's a big difference.
How do you delineate? Because the main thing for me with Northern is the 4 to the floor. Like, I use the word stompers.
Yeah, so stompers were stompers. You also had hand clappers, which were records where the crowd were being and it'd be a slower record with a bit. You had shufflers, which was the fast footwork ones. And yeah, the slow records were douche, douche. But it had to have that slight thing for you to waddle to. It couldn't be a funky, jittery beat. It had to have a certain beat to it. So there's 60s soul records that would never have got into the Northern scene at all. They're being played today on the Northern scene. It's disgusting. And where did we come to? Why did we come there? Yes, they were playing 60s soul and hits. And so in Northern, that had been the early days of Northern, but was really dull compared to the stuff that Searland was playing, like Walking Up a One-Way Street, Willie T. To me, is a really boring record, but it was big at the wheel and the torch. But nothing like the stuff Searland was playing at Wigan, and they were playing all this stuff. I thought, yeah. But I went and had a wee dance and all that. And then I took Michelle to Wigan, and that was my first trip to Wigan for 6 months or something. And then that was me off again. And there's a new all-nighter in Clifton Hall, Rotherham, right, I'm going there as well. Well, I just started going from London up to Wigan Rotherham, Manchester, it's whatever was on, I'd go from London to it. Because there was nothing for me in London. There was no clubs. That 60s thing was all right. I could meet folk who'd been on the northern scene. A lot of them were older than me. They'd been to the wheel and stuff like that. But they weren't interested in northern at that time. They were 2 years later, though. There you go. Shall I do the they were 2 years later, though?
Yeah.
So there was a mod scene. The Quadrophenia had come out, and the mod scene was becoming huge in London, and they were putting on mod nights, and the mod kids were dancing to 60s soul. So I was in a shop in Leytonstone. Jim Wilson, who used to buy bulk of John Anderson, was selling his stock, and he had a sale, 50p or whatever a record, and I was in there picking out fucking bags and bags of records and all that, and yapping to the guy. So there was a chap behind me listening to me, and he worked out, this guy's a Northern Soul bloke, this guy's a Northern Soul bloke. So I get a tap on the shoulder, excuse me, could you pick out some Northern Soul records for me? Aye, all right, son, you want one of them, you'll want one of them, and all that. I run a club at the Albany in Great Portland Street. Would you come and DJ with us sometime? I was like, aye, okay, I'll come. So I came down to this Albany thing, mod night, and all that. I'm sitting there, I mean, a sales box, like 50 count sales box. This is a funny one. And in it was a copy of Tina Britt, The Real Thing. And this mod guy comes up and sees it and like, oh, and I've got 50 written on it, meaning 50p. And this guy comes up, oh, could you keep that for me? I'll go and borrow the money. I'll be back. I'm going to borrow the money. I said, what? Fucking 50p? You're going to borrow 50 fucking p? And so off he goes. He comes back, starts counting out 50 quid. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? It's 50 pence. But Dick says he's got the only copy in Britain. What do you mean he's got the only copy? I've got 40 copies at home. I'll bring you another one next week. I found out they're lying. They were cheating their crowd and pretending they had all these super discoveries, but they didn't know fuck all and all that. So I sort of made my way with the mods and got in with the sort of cool mod types then, because I was the one that was in amongst them that actually knew the records. None of them had a fucking clue about the records, but I knew the records. However, the one guy did teach me some, and there was Simon Cento, who was into it. He was part of that club, and he took me to my first rockabilly club, and I was like, whoa, I like this too. This is exactly like us. You know, the dancing's very important, and they've got rare records, and I thought, oh, I like this rockabilly thing. So that introduced me to rockabilly, and he was a mod and a rockabilly, which is very weird for the time. But yeah, so then Eddie Crosdale, who was running the 60s night, where are we now? 1981, 1982. Eventually, Eddie Crosdale was putting on clubs, and eventually he went to the 100 Club in Oxford Street and says, can I put on an all-nighter of 60s music on a Saturday night, starting at midnight or whatever it was, finishing at 8 in the morning? And they said yes. So me, Alec Murray from Aberdeen, who had moved down to stay with me to get a job. Well, I got my job in a butcher's factory and all that. And 3 guys for Dundee, Kanga, fucking who else was it? Joe Heffel. 3 Dundee boys that were fucking off to the Isle of Wight to pick potatoes because they couldn't get jobs in Dundee because of Margaret Thatcher or some shite. We're at the 100 Club, and it was all these mods that turned up. And there's me, Joe Heffel, Kanga, 5 real northern punters, Scottish ones and all that. And they're playing this 60s stuff, like fucking hell, and we're all going up to the DJ, please play some Northern, will you please play some Northern, please play some Northern. And eventually one of the DJs, Mick Smith, says, what the fuck's wrong with Northern anyway? And he put on Lennis Guess, and we were like, yes. And then the 5 of us started dancing and spinning, flipping over into the box splits, whoosh, flipping back, and you could see these mods going, oh, what the fuck, they're cooler than us, we want to do that. I thought, yeah, we're cool, you fuckers. And all these mods were coming like, how'd you do that? Would you do that? Would you do that? So I organised a coach to go to Wigan and take all these London mods up to Wigan Casino to show them what they were missing and all that. And from then on, Eddie and his 60s club had all these mods now, not just me and a few others, pestering, play Northern, play Northern, play Northern. So I says, Keb, you're DJing now, play Northern, you can do a Northern set. etc. He'll deny it and say he was playing Northern all along, but you weren't, Eddie. You were playing 60s soul, which wasn't Northern. It had been twisted wheel music, but it wasn't up-to-date Northern, which was much more violent. So, and that's how Northern took off at the 100 Club in London, which is still going. The all-nighters there are still going. And I was there 2 weeks ago. Still going strong.
Once a DJ is brought to you with the support of Vinyl Underground Record Store. Since 1993, VU has been shipping new and used underground house, techno, disco, hip-hop, soul and more worldwide from Northampton in the UK. They're your go-to store for upfront releases, repressed classics and deep digging for undiscovered gems. And they're a great crew to deal with who really care about the music and their customers. To show the support to the Once a DJ community, they're giving you 10% off your next order. Just head to vinylunderground.co.uk and use the code ONCEADJ10 at checkout. You also get free UK delivery on all orders over £100. That's ONCEADJ10 at vinylunderground.co.uk. I wanted to create a product for the listeners to be able to support the show and for the guests as a token of gratitude for being on, so I've teamed up with Sure Shot Shop to create some Once a DJ 45 RPM adapter clamps. These are my weapon of choice as a 45 adapter, as they add stability and grip to aid you in any setup. These are available for £25 each plus flat fee postage from onceadj.bigcartel.com, and if you'd like to see the other models you can buy and also customise, check out sureshotshop.com. So was that the point when you started going to America then?
About that, yeah. So I hooked up with Dave Withers, Dave Racing, was getting lots of records off them. And then I was dealing with a guy, there was two newspapers in America you could get. One was called Discoveries, and the other one was called Goldmine. And it was American record collectors' newspapers. But they were all collecting doo-wop was huge, and rock. They collected rock and doo-wop. And all the dealers' addresses and adverts were on the back. So I was dealing with this guy, oh God, what's his name, Edna Minor? Richard Minor in Florida. Big dealer in Florida, big warehouse. He was also a bootlegger who got done for bootlegging Elvis Presley stuff. He died and all that. And I thought, oh, what a shame. Brilliant. The wife won't have a fucking clue. I'm going to Florida. And so books this flight to Florida and then fucking phones up his wife and, hello, I've flown over to get the records. I have to have a look at your husband. I'm really sorry about your husband. Can I come and see the records? We're not ready for you yet, sir. I'm sorry. We're a period of mourning. I understand. So I sat on fucking Miami Beach for a few days. Phones up again. Sorry, we're not ready yet. Oh, fuck it. So I goes up to Orlando. There was a shop there, King Arthur's in Orlando, record shop, which was worth skifting through. So I skiffed through that. But kept most of my money for this Edna Minor collection. Eventually, okay, you come round now. So I goes round, gets a taxi. I was outskirts of Miami on the other side from the beach and all that. In I walks. I've told this story loads of times because it's my favourite collecting story. So I walks into the house. And this old wifey over wig on comes, hey, come in, Karen. How you doing? Okay. And don't ignore Davy there. Her son was lying on the sofa with 2 bottles of Jack Daniels next to him in his own piss. And I thought, oh, fucking hell. Like, all right. So I sits down and she can, would you like a soda? Yes, please. Could I get a Coke, please? Okay, son. So out she goes to the kitchen, comes back in, pump shotgun, sticks it in my balls. You try and steal them fucking records, I'll blow your fucking balls off, boy. I know what you people do. You throw them out the window and come back at night and get them. Well, you won't be stealing from me. I'm like, no, I'm just here to buy records. It's okay. All right, then. I'll be watching you, and we've got dogs. You won't come back at night. I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough. So I get to the record warehouse, and sure enough, there's fucking 7 dogs, wild dogs, running around outside it. I'm like, oh, she's really worried. And I goes, downstairs was all the Sun records and the Rockabilly, which they were into themselves. Yeah, it's not for you. Your stuff's upstairs. I said, okay, then. So I goes upstairs. And it's 100-count cardboard boxes with all kinds of creatures living inside them, and I'm pulling them out and looking through. And I'm finding labels like Arctic and not shrine, but, known northern labels, but the good records aren't there. It's like the numbering sequence is, 1, 2, 3, 7, 11, 13, 15, 19. Like, where's the fucking good records? Oh, we had a couple of boys over from England just before you came. I thought, shit, with that Mark Butch Dobbs. I'm like, oh, fuck me, he's one of my best pals. And with that Tim Ashabendi. This is a good one for listeners that enjoy it. Tim Ashabendi. I like this story. And that Tim Ashabendi, we've been dealing with him in the mail and all for years. And, we invited him over here out of the goodness of our heart. And not once did he have the decency to tell us he was a nigger. We don't have niggers round these parts. I'm like, oh, you fucker. As soon as I got back, I phoned up Tim. Tim, do you know you're a nigger? He knew exactly. He says, oh, you've been to see Edna Minor, have you, Keb? I was like, she must have said it to him. He knew who I was talking about, so she must have said it directly to him. I'm like, fucking hell. All right then, Tim, good boy. So anyway, I get through the fucking place. I spend 3 days going through the warehouse, just the upstairs bit. Went for a shit downstairs where the toilet was. She follows me with her shotgun. I'm on the pan here. She sits in a seat in the toilet beside me with her shotgun so I don't go near the Elvis records. So I stood up and wiped my arse right in her face. And she didn't flinch. She didn't fucking move. It's like, Anyway, gets back to the house after the 3 days. I've just got a small basket with about fucking 50 or 60 records. Nothing special. And all that. Wake up, Davy! Price that man's records for him. Obviously, the son knew more about the prices than she did and all that. Okay, so she's fittering about. And how much would you like to pay for these records, sir? I said, $2 a piece. Off comes her wig, throws it on the ground, into the kitchen, grabs her pump shotgun again. I ain't working my fanny off for no fucking $2 a records. The son gets up, stands up, smack, knocks his mother out. She passes out. I hope my mother hasn't given you a bad impression of our fair state, sir. No, that's fine. With $2 for these, but I want $8 for this one. I know it's worth money in your country. I said, okay, fine. There you go. Thanks very much. Well, I have to rush. Off I went. That was Richard and Edna Minor. And then fucking years later, I'm at Camden Market and a young boy comes along, American, looking through the records I was selling, and I thought, oh, this guy's very knowledgeable. What's your name? Josh. All right, then, blah, blah, blah. How the fuck do you know these records? He says, oh, I'm a collector. All right. Eventually I found out it was DJ Shadow. Yapping away to him, he says, oh, I got a big hit in Florida. This old lady, she was fucking mad. I said, was her name Edna Minor? Yes. Right. So Josh went in there and got all the funk, because when I was there, I wasn't interested in funk. So Josh had been in and cleaned out all the funk from there after me. He was in there a couple of years after me and got all the funk out of it. I thought, shit, if only I'd been into the funk then.
Did he have a similar experience to you, or with him being American?
He said she was a bad bastard, yeah.
Right.
It might have been just a fucking off day, I don't know. He was in 2 years later, she may have mellowed. But Tim definitely got told what she thought he was. If I phone him up and say, Tim, you know you're a nigger? And her name came straight out of his mouth, Edna Minor. I'm like, yeah, okay. Weird fucker.
After that trip, were you starting to make more regular trips then?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So I hooked up eventually with John Manship. Do you know John Manship? He's like the biggest,
might know the name.
Biggest dealer of soul music in Britain, if not Europe. Probably Europe. And the biggest auctions of Northern Soul in the world is John Manship's. So me and him hooked up. Me and him were pals from the fucking all-nighters and all that, but he became this very businessman-type record dealer, made millions out of it. And I says, Keb, do you fancy coming with me? I'm doing a trip to New York and all that. I thought, I ain't bothered. Can you introduce me to the pals with the Daptone people then, who weren't Daptone, they were Desco then. There was a French guy started it, who had a big collection that John had heard about. You know him, Keb, can you introduce me? I ain't bother, come on. So we went. And then John, he said it himself on a video, he says, I just had such a laugh with Keb that we went every time together, because we had a good laugh and found lots of records. We're both hard workers. So I've gone with some people, and you see a warehouse in front of you, whoosh, and they'll flick through for 8 hours, and then, oh, my back, well, that's enough, I've got some. Whereas me and John, no, you go to the last fucking record in the very last box, because you don't know what you're going to miss, you daft bastard. But most people won't do that. So I think John liked me because I'd fucking, no, you're looking at every fucking record in this warehouse. And it doesn't matter if you find nothing for 10 hours or 2 days. There may be something on day 3.
Yeah, I think your sort of level of digger, you're built differently. I've probably got about 2 hours of stamina.
Yeah, yes, softy. Yeah, but then back then, there was a much bigger reward.
Yeah.
Back then, you go in there and you find a fucking 25 count box of Shrine records. That's a year's wages in your hand there. And you're probably going to pay fucking an hour's wages to get them. So the reward was much bigger. So there's after hip hop kicked off, fucking every American town had a digger in it. Before that, nobody. You'd never hear of Americans buying these records. It just didn't seem to happen. They bought doo-wop, was what the American big collectors collected, was doo-wop was their thing, and rock. So there was a huge reward for doing all that work if you found stuff, which I did until about 1990. When was the last time I went? About 1993 I went out, spent 2 weeks with John Manship. He got fucking thousands of records because he was selling them. I was just buying records from a DJ box, and I got 2 records. And that was with the cost of the flight, cost of the hotel, cost of the hire car. Oh, I thought, nah, fuck it. Waste of time.
Would it have been sort of, say, about 88 when all the diggers and the hip-hop, because like sort of when the sampling...
I don't know when they did it, because I met Josh in about 93, 94, and that was my first American digger that I knew, other than the old men that collected doo-wop. So I don't know, the Americans would know that. But I noticed that from about 88 or before, the chance of finding someone was going zoom. And come 92, 93, it just went zoom. The chance of finding great finds, it disappeared because the Americans had souped it all up themselves.
So, till that point, were you still really focused on Northern?
At that point I was focused on Northern and modern soul, which is not modern at all. It's like the 77 to 1981 disco-y sound, but a bit more soulful and professional sounding music was what they called the modern soul scene, which is a spin-off of the Northern scene. So I was after that sort of late 70s soulful, good disco sound. I was buying that stuff.
Would you separate that from the term rare groove? Yeah,
definitely. Two totally separate things. So the rare groove scene was in London. So here's another story for you then. I had a mate called Garlic George from Derby, and that is called Garlic George. Is it? Oh, you're in Derby just now. You probably know Garlic George. He's dead now, though. George Raymonds. And he was, he's an old guy. I think he was a Polish evacuee during the war as a kid, because I went to his house a few times to look through the records, and there was paintings of him in his fancy gear, like black and white 40s paint. Oh, fucking hell, that's George. He's from a rich family in Poland, and he was going to the States and buying fucking everything, taking it back, and he was supplying DJs and all that. He was fucked in the head. And I tend to get on with people who are fucked in the head. So he phoned me up once when I was I worked in a butcher's factory back then, early 80s, and he phoned me up to say, "Oh, Keb, I just phoned for your advice, because you seem to be honest with me. I've realised that the neighbours are possessed with demons, so I've cut their brake cables this morning. Do you think do you think it'll be okay?" I'm like, George, to deal with demons, the best people that know about demons are psychiatrists. They don't only deal with psychiatry, they deal with the occult and the devils as well. You best go and see one, and they'll tell you how to deal with your neighbours, who are obviously demons and all that. Another one, I went to his house. He's got 2 houses full of records, one in Nottingham, which is just for storing records in. And we goes into the house, it's about tea time, it's getting dark outside, and then, okay, this room's the blah 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 blah, this is the British stuff, and upstairs this is our Philadelphia here, Detroit there, and I goes to open the curtains to let the light in. No, don't open the curtains, they're always watching. And I looks out and it's a fucking empty field. I'm like, holy shit, this boy's off the fucking head. Anyway, George used to come down to my flat in London in the early 80s with 2 or 3 boxes of 45s and all that. Always 3 or 4 for me. Then, okay, I got these for you. Nobody knows that this one's Jesse Davis. I think it'll go big on the scene. Thank you, George. And then off he'd go on a Saturday afternoon to Camden and sell them to the shop in Camden, etc. Then he'd come back and, right, George, you fancy going for a drink? I've got an appointment. He was an ugly fucker, the ugliest fucker on the planet, who no woman would ever sleep with. So off he goes to his appointment, and then he comes back with a big smile on his face. He's been to a prostitute, obviously, and all that. And then back to Derby. A few years later, when I did get into funk, I was seeing that the Rare Groove Boys had been playing some records that were actually rare, like 2 or 3 things that were rare. Most of the Rare Groove stuff was just children's records that you'll find fucking 1,000 counts of them in any American warehouse back then. But there was 2 or 3 that were rare. I says, George, have you got a copy of the Leroy and the Drivers, Sad Chicken and Julia? Oh, yes, it was quite funny, Keb. I sold about 20 or 30 of those to that shop in Camden back in the years. I used to bring these records for these Rare Groove people. It was all just funk, etc. They weren't interested in rarity. They'd just buy anything. But yes, I have still got a couple, and I'll bring in a... What about the Apostles? Oh, yes, that was another one. That was popular with the Camden people as well. So George Raymond's was, by his desire for a prostitute, was what really kicked off the Rare Groove scene and supplied the Rare Groove scene. I believe that to this day because I made pals with, what was the big Rare Groove DJ? Not Norman. Norman wouldn't buy now. I used to try and sell rare records to Norman J, but he wouldn't pay money for them. He'd buy the cheaper ones, and he was a nice boy. There was another guy who was into it. What was his name? He had a record shop called Quaff Records in Finsbury Park, and I went to meet Roy the Roach. Right. Roy, he still promotes now. He does house nights as a promoter. But Roy the Roach was a black guy who was deadly serious into the records. I went into his shop once, started talking to him and all that. He was like, holy shit, how do you know all these things? I said, okay. So he started hanging about with me, and he'd go to the Northern Soul Dues with me to look through the records. So he was one of them that actually did dig, but he's the only one. The rest of them played about at it, really. I'm going to upset a few people, and they'll, how could he say that? But no, they did. They weren't turning up big records. They weren't turning up rare records. They should have called it Groove, not Rare Groove. It was like easy to get in any American cutout shop. Groove should have been the correct name. James Brown's and Curtis Mayfield's. And have you heard of Eddie Bow? I'm like, are you fucking joking? I was at his house a few months ago. What are you talking about? Get a grip. And so it wasn't. So yes, the Rare Groove scene. It didn't interest me because it wasn't digging deep. So in 1987, I got divorced. So I got married, and then about a year later, not even that, 6 months later, when are you going to stop buying records? Well, sell the records, buy a new house. What? But this is me, that's who you married, that's what I do. When are you going to buy records? Right, fucking divorced. Unfortunately, though, it was, you're going to lose your house, or flat it was, so I'd got the place by then, and this bugger's going to get it. So I thought, shit, I can get rid of her. So I fucking put up all my rare Northerns for sale. I think I got 70,000 quid for it. Fucking Butch and Rob Marriott brought the big pieces, hand-selected pieces at big silly prices, and then Germanship came and bought the rest, and I dumped £70,000 on the table for this woman and said, sign this please, and off she fucked, and I never saw her again. And then I'd up in the loft all the junk, all the rubbish I'd bought for it. So you would buy blind. Back when I was going to the States, you could buy blind because it was so cheap. You'd look at the label and think, well, I don't know that, this may be good. So you'd buy it, and I'll listen to it when I get home. We hadn't, the Soundburgers then, they hadn't been invented. So it was just you had to use your eyes and guess if it was going to be good, and then listen when you got back. They were up in the loft. And I had a neighbour called Jimbo, who I met him when he was like 14, and he was getting into hip-hop and all that. I detest hip-hop, but he was getting into hip-hop. And anyway, he gave me a cassette, and I plays it at home, and it's this rare funk stuff. I'm like, oh, this is quite good music and all that. And these are quite rare-looking records. I said, Jim, what are these records? He brought them round. They're these fucking... Leon Gardner? Oh, that's quite fucking rare. I've not seen that before. Yes, you have. How? You gave me them all. When I said I was into hip-hop, you gave me all these records. I'm taking them back now. Okay. So I got these records back and I went up into the loft. I thought, this Rare Groove. At that point, Rare Groove was dying because house was arriving.
Yeah.
And all these DJs that Rare Groove, we love Rare Groove, were switching instantly to, oh, this is the new thing, this is the new thing. And Rare Groove was dumped by them. So I thought, well, these idiots have scratched the surface of what they call Rare Groove. Okay, I've got fucking the next level of it in my loft, and now I'm going to go around all my old Northern Soul mates and get funk records out of them. And I was getting things like Arthur Mundy handed to me for nothing from Northern Soul mates, Latin, whatever it is, that Blue Label on CNL, Latin, real heavy funk tune. I was getting all these super rare funk tunes from my old Northern Soul mates for free. What would you want that shite for? Take it, take it, take it. So I built this up. I was DJing at a club called the Brain Club, just down from the WAG Club on Wardour Street, which was a really cool, trendy club. And I was the sort of regular DJ there with folk started there. DJ Harvey and folk like that were starting there. And that Boys Own thing. Before Boys Own, Harvey was doing the Brain. Anyway, I was actually doing the warm-up set, really, because I'd fucking sold on my big Northern. I was just playing a bit of Northern, a bit of this sort of funky stuff, a bit of that. Then the Brain Club got a booking to take the Brain Club to Iceland. And at the same weekend, some people in Japan wanted the Brain Club to go to Japan. Now, at that time, Japan was completely uncool, and nobody wanted to go to Japan. The Brain Club. So Mark Wiggin and Sean McCluskey it was that run it. They said, Keb, we're all going to Iceland. Sorry, but you're going to Japan. I thought, oh, Amma, yeah, you're going to represent the Brain Club in a club called Gold in Bayside in Tokyo. I thought, okay. And then you got another night in the Cave Club in Shibuya. I thought, okay, fuck it, I'll go. I'm getting paid for it. I might as well go. So I goes out there for 2 nights, and I'm at this club called Gold, which was like 3 floors, great big floor, playing this new house nonsense downstairs. And then the middle floor was me, with this playing funk and soul. And then the top floor, I think, was voguing, with some whatever voguing music was at the time. You're probably too young to remember that. But electro, beat, pop, rock,
right,
go-go, or whatever they called it, was on the top floor. So I'm playing. I got a queue one side of me of fucking otakus, which are like obsessive collectory types. Japanese otakus one side, like, nani sorry, be Krista, looking at the records. I got a queue of young ladies this side, asking if I'd teach them English. I'm like, fucking hell, this is nice, and all that. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, the end of the night, I'm like, fuck me, that was brilliant, you know. They were all going wild to the records I was playing. I was, oh, fucking, that's much better than playing at the Brain Club. The guy comes to pay me. And I learnt later in Japanese culture, they apologise for everything, no matter how good it is. So this guy comes up, gomenasai, Keb-san, okani wa skoshi dake. I didn't speak Japanese then, so I asked this girl, what did he say? Oh, he said, it's not much money, he's very sorry. Oh, okay. How much is it? I've no fucking idea. I've never seen yen before. 750 quid. No, you daft Mitch. You mean 75 quid? No, 750 quid. This was 1989. I'm like, what? Are you fucking serious? They pay me 20 quid at the fucking Brain Club and I've just got 750 quid for playing records? I'm staying here. So I phoned my mate Speedy. I said, Speedy, you can have my flat. I'm never coming back to Britain. I'm going to live in Japan for the rest of my life. And I stayed there for 6 months until immigration caught up with me and all that. And my mates in Japan told me I could go to Korea and then come back and go to Korea. But I thought, no, I'm going back to Britain. I'm going to find a Japanese woman, marry her, and get a visa so I can live in Japan for the rest of my life. But in that 6 months, I was tittering about all clubs and sort of created the first deep funk scene. Deep funk started in Japan. It didn't start in Britain. It was Japan it took off in first.
Right.
I know that. And I was like, oh, fucking hell. So I was really sad to leave. I remember getting off the plane here at Heathrow and driving a taxi into London because I had 750 quid wages and loads of wages. and looking at it thinking, God, it's so fucking grey and miserable. Oh, take me back to Japan, please. Anyway, married 2 Japanese girls. They didn't want to go back to Japan, and divorced them as well. But yes, but then I came here and wasn't getting much work. The Brain Club shut down, and then a guy, Spencer, a mate of mine from the northern scene, had been speaking to this guy called Spencer, who was going to put on a night at the WAG Club in Wardour Street, which was a big, super cool club back in the early 90s and in the 80s. And this guy Spencer phones up and says, I hear you've got a big collection of funks. Aye. I'm starting a new night called Leave My Wife Alone. It's every Thursday at the WAG Club. Do you fancy doing a set? Aye. All right, then I'll do it. So I did it, and I was doing it every week, and The Guardian made it the best club in London of that year and all that shit, and it was fucking rammed, you know, hundreds of folk coming. I thought, fuck me, this is brilliant. But being Britain, Spencer was paying me a fucking bag of sweeties and sticking the rest in his pocket, and I thought, fuck that, you know, I'm going to start my own club, because they're yeah, let's be a cunt about it. They were coming there for me on mainly. You know, the other DJs were playing pish and I'm playing all this fucking stuff that nobody knew, but they're all going, wow, this is fucking great. And all the dancers, the jazz dancers, you know, Jerry IDJ, Rocky and all them boys, they were sort of coming because of the stuff I was playing. I thought, I'm going to start my own night. So I bounced about a few clubs, failed miserably, and then came across, a mate of mine says, oh, there's a strip club in Soho called Madame Jojo's. You know, you should go in there and see. They give you a Sunday night. They do nothing on a Sunday night. So I went in there and I said, all right, start Sunday. And that was the start of Deep Funk at Madame Jojo's.
Were they having strippers on at the same time then?
No, before us. Yeah, it became a transvestite. So it was a transvestite weird strip club. And then when Paris bought it, which was just about a year after I took over, there was a German guy who used to run it, but he left after a year. And she just put on a transvestite show on the Friday and Saturday night, and that finished at 10, and then I took over. And they cleared out, the people for the show were cleared out, unless they paid extra to stay for the Deep Funk night. And then all the dancers would arrive. And it was great. 18 years, it was fucking great. You know, with a tremendous crowd that just came to dance, you know. Was
that with Snowboy, is that right?
No, Snowboy never did it, no. Snowboy...
This AI is terrible.
Oh, I know. Me and Snowboy I started it at a club called Ormonds, and I was, Greg Belson was advising me who I should book. One of the Rare Groove DJs who I sacked on the first night. I can't remember his name, something funky or whatever he called himself. He was big, he was on... Kiss FM and all that. Can't remember his name. So I was booking all these DJs and he told me to book this guy Snowboy. I thought, Snowboy, what a fucking stupid name. All right, I'll book this guy Snowboy if you say so, Greg, because I wanted to get people in, you know. I thought, I've got the records, but if people don't know me, they're not going to come to hear the records. So I booked all these folk. Jasper the Vinyl Junkie, that was it.
Yeah.
So Jasper the Vinyl Junkie does a set upstairs. He's on for about 15 minutes. I say, sorry, pal, can you get off? Okay, and this is Deep Funk. It's not fucking children's James Brown medley, 12 inches. Okay, and you're fired type thing. So I sacked him. I was, fuck you, get out. And then I look, and Soul Ball, John Anderson had sent his mate Andy to have a record bar because he thought, maybe Keb's going to get something going here. Let's sell some Soul Ball records there. They want soul and funk records. So there was a record bar from Soul Ball in the club. And I look over and there's this great big fucking rockabilly stand at the record bar. Now, I'd been in the rockabilly scene for my own pleasure and bought a few records, but never played rockabilly at clubs. So I walk up to this great big rockabilly. He says, fucking hell, you're rockabilly? Yeah. Where are you? From Southend. All right. What are you doing here? I'm DJing. What? Are you DJing? What's your name? Snowboy. Well, my name's Mark, but Snowboy. You're Snowboy? Oh, I thought you were a wanker. Oh, you're a rockabilly. Oh, fucking hell, mate. Well, we became the best of pals. And so from that, I thought, right, he's a good DJ. Ian Wright's a good DJ. I'm a good DJ. The rest are wank. And then we moved from Ormonds because they started putting the price up and charging people £20 for a warm can of Coke with 20 pence written on it. And I thought, fuck it, they'll just rip off merchants. Let's go to different clubs. And then by the time I got to Jojo's, Snowboy had given up. He thought, nah, it's not going to work, Keb. I'm going to focus on my jazz dance thing. So when I started at Jojo's, it was me and Jimbo, Raw Deal, the young boy from next door that had given me my records back in the first place. So I got him on as the warm-up DJ because he thought, shit, I'm going to start buying these things. now that Keb's taken them back from me. And so he bought them, and he had quite a good set, and I'd give him records to fucking play. Here you go, play them, you fucker. So that was it. And 18 years of glory, and promoted it for maybe 2 or 3 months. Then after that, I didn't need to bother with flyers. I didn't need to bother with anything. It was just fucking packed every night. And you'd get folk like fucking Kenny Dope, Jazzy Jeff, fucking phoning up, Keb, can we play at your club? Oh, I can't afford you. No, we don't want money. We'll just do it. All right, come and do it. And all your big fucking Yankee DJs were turning up, playing at JoJo's for nothing because it was fun. Oh, it was great. I loved it. Aye.
Yeah, I guess there was a lot going on in London, wasn't there? Like, I'd robbed a bank on the other week, and he was talking, we've talked a bit about the money in DJing and stuff, and, he was saying that you were getting people like Andy Weatherall coming and playing for sort of 20 quid in a roast dinner in the good old days.
Andy Weatherall. So I was living in Japan 89, came back to Britain in 90. I was just after the first Gulf War. Okay, but I missed the Gulf War. Came back and all that, and I'd picked up a fucking box of Japanese stuff. I just, I buy records, and I bought loads of house fucking records and shit. Oh no, well, before I went to Japan, they told me, Keb, you can take your funk and soul, but you better buy some house, because house is going big everywhere now. It's the new thing, and all is this house music. So I had a mate was a dealer, I got a load of fancy house records. Anyway, I came back from Japan, the funk and the soul had worked, I didn't need to play any house records. So I knew that Andy Weatherall had a copy of a rockabilly record I want, Frank Andy Starr, Dig Them Squeaky Shoes. Andy was a big rockabilly collector, so phones up and says, look, I'll give you a swap. I want your Frank Andy Starr. I've got about 100 rare 12-inch fucking house things and all that, blah, blah, blah. That tracks and shit like that, fancy labels that are big with the house crowd and all that. Do you want a swap? Fucking right. So I meet him in Soho, I had this fucking 100-count fucking album box, and he came out with this one wee 7-inch front. I'm like, yes, you fucker. So yeah, Andy was great. He was great into the fucking rockabilly. He was a rockabilly first when he used to do amazing rockabilly nights, didn't he? He did rockabilly nights. After he was a big famous house DJ, he started putting on rockabilly nights for his own pleasure. And all that. Good boy. I miss him. He was a good boy.
Yeah, he's. I don't know as much about him as I probably should. I know him more in the name, but yeah.
He was a lovely man, and he liked his rockabilly. Anyone that likes rockabilly is honest with me. It's nice. A funny thing for me to say, but there was an attitude that you can't like that. It's like hillbillies and hicks and all that. No, it's not cool. But then you think, well, you haven't fucking listened, have you? It's as soulful as you're going to get. These hicks and hillbillies are just as soulful as your Detroit car worker and all that. So, and Andy obviously was honest and had listened with honest ears instead of creating an image. He was actually, no, I'm just going to listen to what's in the grooves as opposed to the image of these records. But they're all Ku Klux Klan members. No, they're not actually. They were actually fusing black music and they were mates for the blacks. No, you got this wrong, boys. And yeah, anyone that likes rockabilly, I tend to like instantly because it's a hard one to like. Or it was a hard one to like 20 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. So when you were going over, you said like you could take punts on records because they were so cheap in America. Yeah. What was your sort of hit rate like? Because I think you've still got to think about how much you're taking, haven't you? You've got to constantly like the volume.
I know you could ship. No, you could ship stuff. You didn't have to take it back with you. We used shipping services if you found a big hit. And all that. So, hit rate would be... So by the time I was going to the States regularly, I was pretty well trained. I could tell quite well. So my hit rate, that's still not great. It's like 20 to 1, One really good record you can play, 20, 5 of which you can sell, and 15 which go in the bin.
Yeah.
That was the kind of hit rate I was getting. But my eyes were trained to things that gave you a clue as to that'll be good. Unfortunately, I'm fucking guarantee some of the stuff I fucking threw away or sold at Camden Market was fucking tremendous garage. I'm into the garage punk thing just now. That's my big love just now. It's all exciting for me. But the amount of them that I must have fucking sold for nothing back in the day, and I should have fucking clung on to them. And that. So, I'd say 20 to 1. Then you got the Soundburger arriving, and once the Soundburger arrived, everything was a hit, You could listen to fucking everything.
Yeah. So when Kenny and Jeff and people were getting in touch to come and play, were they already sort of into the deep funk as well then?
No, Kenny was the first one. So I got a phone call out of the blue. So I put out compilations on BBE, Legendary Deep Funk Volume, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And at the same time, they had this sort of house thing. They were doing BBE, same label, with Kenny and Jeff and all them boys.
Is this late 90s, early 90s then?
Yeah, maybe. Aye. 90s, but I can't remember when. Yeah, it'd be late 90s, aye. So I get a phone call one day, out of the blue. Yo, is it Keb Darge? I'm like, aye, who's this? It's Kenny Dope. Who? Kenny Dope. Sorry, mate, who? Masters at Work. What? Sorry, who is it? Oh, never mind that. Are you in the UK? Are you in London? Are you in London next Saturday? I said, oh, no, sorry, pal, I'm playing in Germany. I'm really sorry. Okay, what about the week after? Yeah, I'm here. Do you fancy being our guest at the Cannes Film Festival? Who is this? It was like, oh, Pete from BBE gave me your number. I'm a live DJ. I got your compilation. I just want to talk to you. I've got to talk to you. The records. I've never seen those records. You got to teach me. I'm like, okay, all right, I'll come to Cannes and be your guest at the film festival. So I met Kenny. I know that the Cannes film was a weird place.
What was Kenny doing at Cannes?
DJing.
Oh,
So
right.
they had a sort of after party thing. Him and Louis were DJing and all that, and there was a big pier fenced off with a DJ box and all the fucking superstars and a helicopter platform at the end of it and all that. And I'm in here with this lot and all the scummer on the beach, which are your TV actors and all that. So it was good fun. It was fascinating watching them all fucking arse licking and creeping and all that. But yeah, Kenny was, first time I met him, I thought, this guy's genuine. You know, he's genuine. He loves this stuff. He's into it and all that. And he was, how the fuck do you get those records? So I told him about the northern scene. Eventually, I took him up to Tim Brown's warehouse up in the north, Turnmorden. There used to be two big warehouses, and the guy that moved to Detroit, then Canada, in the late 60s was shipping records over to these warehouses for the northern scene. But in there, I went up there before Kenny, and I was coming out with fucking crates of funk for next to nothing, because Tim was like, fucking shite, kid, what do you want that for? You know, it's not northern, it's shite. I was the same before. Anything that's not northern was shite, so I'm getting all this funk stuff for next to nothing from Tim, and I takes Kenny up there, and then Kenny twigged. He was pretty quick to twig. Fuck me, this northern soul scene has souped all the great records, and they're all sitting with these sort of middle-aged, older gentlemen around Britain and all that. Jesus, we've got so much to fucking find out here. So he flew me over to DJ in New York with him, and Louis introduced me to Jeff and introduced me to Terry Hunter, all those folk, and I became pals, and they were all nice guys. I fucking couldn't stand the music they were playing. I never liked house, I never liked hip-hop, but I thought they were all fucking really nice guys, and Kenny was, fuck yes, I'm getting into this, and a few others got into it, and he started buying wildly, records. Got a great connection now, I was speaking to him a while ago, and he's fucking got a tremendous collection of rare funk and 70s soul and all that now. Good on him. But yeah, and that introduced me to that. And the West Coast crowd was, because of Camden Market, I tell you, I was fucking selling cassettes and records, and this young boy, Josh, comes along. He was actually looking at a cassette I had, and I used to cover my artist, cover up, still covering up, but the funk ones are covered. All the artists' names were American Civil War generals, because I did history at university, so I'd make up these, well, not make them up, but use American Civil War generals. And he'd fucking look at this thing, and you've got this down as James Longstreet. I've got it as Arthur Mundy. What? Yeah. What's your name, son? Josh. You collect, yeah, do you want to come back to the house after? Yeah. So me and Josh made pals. He'd come over when he was over. I didn't actually realise he was DJing or famous or anything like that. He'd come to the house with a box of records, we'd do some swapping around and all that. And then one night, he says, oh, do you fancy coming to the bar Rumba on a Monday night? It's a Giles Peterson thing. I thought, oh, really? Oh, come on, Keb, come with me. I need a mate there. I said, okay. So I goes to the bar Rumba, and he's fucking like he's got loads of friends. I mean, oh, fucking hell. And I keep hearing folk, oh, DJ Shadow's here, DJ Shadow's here, DJ Shadow's here, DJ Shadow's here. I'm like, Josh, do you know who this cunt DJ Shadow is? Aye, it's me. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry for you, son. But he introduced me. Actually, he didn't introduce me. He booked me. He was doing his product placement tour or something. He says, Keb, do you fancy coming and DJing with us on the tour? I'll introduce you to Lucas, Cut Chemist, and all the other. So I got into all the West Coast boys through Josh. So Kenny introduced me to all the East Coast boys. Josh introduced me to all the West Coast boys. And I used to go out and stay at fucking Madlib's house and all that, up in the hills. And it was wonderful, floating about LA with these fuckers and posh food and all that. Sunshine, great.
Yeah, so like, you get people like, so you'll get like your favourite rapper's favourite rapper. You get your favourite DJ's favourite DJ, right? Did you kind of twig on to the fact that that was kind of what you were? Because you're like, these guys in a different scene are really doing things, but you're the guy they're sort of looking up to as well.
Oh, I got that from Kenny clear as day. From most of them, Madlib and all, a lot of them. Like, I was like this old fucking school teacher or whatever, so I got that from them, I used to fucking know, Kenny did it with Teltis once. I was booked to play in Toronto, and he was booked to do a house night in Toronto just up the road. And all that, and I says to he was doing, like, these boys seem to do 1 hour, 2 hour sets, then fuck off. I was doing like a 6 hour set and all that. I was on all night. So Kenny come to the fucking, coming to my thing after he gets finished. Well, have a drink and a chat. Oh, Keb, I'll be there, man. I want to hear those tunes, So he comes in this night, and this is when he said it to me. And I got the picture sort of. It's Keb, man, you're so fucking lucky. You're so fucking lucky. You get to play great tunes to people that love great tunes. I have to play shit to be like, don't tell him he said that. Kenny, I got fucking $300 tonight. How much did you get paid? That's not the point. No, he probably got fucking whatever, $15,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, Kenny, you want the money to buy the records? You do your thing. I'll do this. Yeah, but I'm so fucking jealous. I was like, okay. So they were. I could see. That's annoyed me as well. Francois Kevorkian and fucking did a festival in Belgium with him, and he said exactly the same thing. He was playing me things on his, I think it was his phone at the time, or it was a fucking recorder thing on the earphones. Keb, do you know this? Yeah. Can you get me a copy of that? Yeah. Oh, I love those records you play. I love those records you play. And then he's playing boom, boom, boom. Oh, I wish I could play the stuff you play, Keb. Well, you fucking can. What's stopping you? And well, they don't want it. They want. I said, fair enough. I thought, well, if you want to play it, if you think you'd love to play it, just play the fucking stuff. But they were frightened. The majority of them were frightened to play that stuff, which frustrates me a bit. Kenny would do it when he was playing with me and Josh. Me and Josh used to do every Christmas in Japan with Deep Funk Japan tour. And Josh would play all his rare fucking funk and soul stuff then with Dante from Chicago. The three of us did it loads of times and great fun. And that was their escape. That was their fun. It frustrated me. I'm thinking, why don't you do it all the time?
I think like with Josh, you kind of, when he did his second album, and it's sonically and stylistically quite different to the first one. I can remember reading something where that gets questioned. It's like, well, either I do something different or I do something that's exactly the same.
Yeah.
You kind of like, it's the curse of the success.
Yes, I understand that. But that's why I packed in Deep Funk after 18 years. I was bored shitless.
I was going to ask you that because, like, when something becomes, because I was thinking, like, I like it when I feel like, and it's, I don't know anything like, 1% of the sort of things you do, but if I find something that, like, I don't really know anyone that knows, I can be quite excited about it.
Aye.
But then if you start hearing about it everywhere, it just loses a bit of this special thing. Did you get that at all sort of with the Deep Funk?
No, Deep Funk was always special for the customers. It was just me. So, no, there was new... So you'd have the regulars that were going for the whole 18 years, the jazz dancers and the b-boys and all that, but there was a turnover. You'd see the same faces for 3 or 4 years, then the faces would change, and it was ooh, and you could see all the time. They're like, "Wow, look what we've found! This is," because it was special, There was nothing. You go to a house club or a hip hop club, fucking everywhere, but then you've got this lovely venue. Did you ever go to JoJo's?
No.
Beautiful fucking venue, gorgeous, all done out in red and gold like a 1940s strip club. It looked great. It had 2 dance floors. and the dance floors were packed with really good dancers, and folk would come in for their first time, and you could see them. It was like me when I first arrived at Wigan going, whoa, you fucker, what's this? This is very different. So it was special. But at one point I was DJing 4 or 5 times a week, and the new discoveries were slowing down because on my own fault, I went at such a fucking pace. You know what I mean? When I started, it was like I'd play a record for 3 weeks, then drop it, and so I can make room for a new discovery. And I went through them far too quick. So I'm like, I've heard all these records fucking God knows how many 100 times each. And the new ones that are turning up, that one's okay, but it's not as good as these. And I thought, I'm bored. And the sound began to grate on me. It sounds terrible, the king of deep funk, but the sound of funk began to, fuck it annoys me now. And
no, I get it though, because is this around, because then you had like the sort of the Daptones and everyone that were doing that sound again, but there's so many people kind of revisiting it.
So many, Daptone was the one that got it right. They were fucking perfect. Yeah. You know, I loved it. Sharon fucking... So the first time the Daptones, Adrian, I hope Adrian watches this, the first time the Dap Kings and Sharon played at the Jazz Cafe, they didn't fucking get a hotel booked for them. You know, they'd flown over from New York. They were paid a small wage, I found out later, and the promoter, whose name I won't mention, hadn't booked hotels for the fucking lot. So I'm like, oh, fuck, well, you can all stay at my house. So the whole fucking lot stayed at my house and all that, and we became great pals. And then Sharon was like, we're going to play your club on Sunday. They say we're not allowed to play anywhere else. Fuck them. We're going to play your club on Sunday. So we got Sharon Jones, the Dap Kings, on the stage every time they were over, free of charge. And eventually the fucking Jazz Cafe and those folk are paying thousands to get Sharon and that on, and I'm getting them on for nothing. I was like, nah. And treat people nicely and they'll be nice to you.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I loved the Sharon thing. With the whole Daptone thing, and I think it's followed the right path now. So the funk thing's fitted away, and they're into the sort of sweet soul, lowrider soul, and all that, and producing some great stuff. I've heard some of the stuff that Gabe's behind. Gabe's the genius behind it all. I thought, wow, that's great, and that's a good progression from the funk stuff to the really good, proper 60s, early 70s sounding soul done perfectly. Great. Most other people fuck it up. You know, they don't seem to get something right with the recording equipment or whatever.
Well, that's the big thing with Daptone, isn't it? That attention to detail.
Yeah, the sound's right. You know, I get loads of other stuff, and it's a nice song, but it's not right. It doesn't sound right. You know, and I was getting them at the time that everyone was sending me all their funk releases. You know, I've made a funk record. Have you really? All right, let's have a listen. Oh, that's very nice song. And so many just junk.
Did you ever get into the Chicano stuff? Because that's something I'm really interested in, but I'd know very, very extremely little about. But I just love the textures.
So, boy, textures. Stop using your fancy language, boy. Textures. So you're talking about the soul harmony stuff.
Yeah.
So Stafford, after Wigan shut, the next main venue on the northern scene was Stafford, top of the world in Stafford, and the main DJs. It was run by a guy called Dave Thorley. And he booked me after a year. He came down to see me playing in the south and thought, oh, fuck me, this guy's got nice records and a really beautiful girlfriend. And I think he just wanted my girlfriend to be at his venue all the time. And, so I got the booking at Stafford, and then I got my mate Guy Hennigan on at Stafford, and we were like the kings of 60s soul. Okay, let's go into this. At the same time, when Wigan shut, there was a guy called Soul Sam, who was a very influential DJ on the scene, who thought that there was too many white pop stompers getting played. The jazz funk disco scene had been slagging off the northern scene in magazines for not actually playing soul, but playing too much pop and just a bit of soul. And Sam was slating the northern scene himself for playing too much pop, and he started the modern soul scene. That's when he started playing the late 70s, early 80s. New release soul, which was more soulful. So that's what's happening. So me and Guy thought, right, fuck that. We'll start playing more soulful records to shut these fuckers up. Actually, there was one night, fucking Sam was slagging me off in Black Echoes, the newspaper I talk about firstly of the week. Keb Darge doesn't know what soul is. He's playing pop nonsense. And I thought, Sam, you wanker, you've never been. You know, and I wasn't. I was playing a couple of garage things and mostly soulful stuff. So one night, fucking, I looks behind me, and the Preston Cybermen have tied Sam to a chair behind me. They went and fucking kidnapped him from some venue who was playing it, and tied him to a chair behind me. Was listen. So I saw Sam. I thought, right, I'm going to play a really fucking soulful set. I'll play the whatever you call it, sort of lowriders with a bit of beat. So I was playing what lowriders would buy now, plus some faster stuff, but all really soulful, just to shut Sam up. So I did this set, which was unusual for me because I love stompers, bang, 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 bang. So I did this set to shut Sam up, which worked. He apologised and all that. Unfortunately for me, though, it took off with a crowd. So the next week, they, Keb, can you play that one you played last week? Keb, can you play that again? Can you play that again? Oh, fucking hell, they're all too slow. So Stafford got a name as the beat ballad capital of the Northern Soul scene, where we would play a lot of slower soul records, and beat ballads became very popular. And that was pretty well my fault with Sam behind me type thing. And that, because I prefer the Stompers, but those were really nice soul records. To me, they were like the lowriders. You have them at home, or you sit in a bar drinking, listening to them, but they're not for a fucking big dance floor, you know.
Yeah,
a dance floor with 500 people, you can't play that many slow records. So I was buying that sort of thing and listening to things that had that really nice sulphur harmony thing and thinking, oh yeah, that would make a good ender. Oh yeah, that's a great record, I like that. So I was buying it, but I was into proper Northern 100 mile an hour stompers, really, and I thought this was just a nice little sideline type thing. I wasn't into it like those boys, your Mexican boys and all that are into it. They're right into it.
Yeah, I love some of that stuff.
Aye.
So with the garage rock then, how did that come in? And because from what I saw in terms of my exposure and awareness about that sort of thing, it's probably mainly you and like maybe Cut Chemist, the people that I'm kind of aware of being in and around that.
Well, the first guy to tell me that you would love garage rock was Josh. He was like, Keb, you would love garage. It's like you're Northern and all that. But in my head for years, I thought, fuck off, it's like, hippie, fantastic purple bubble exploding machine, hippie nonsense. I'm not interested, Josh, fuck right off. But I'd never listened. I never fucking listened to him. And Kurt Chemist as well. Keb, you'd like garage. Nah, I didn't like the idea of that. It's hippie stuff. Not interested. The garage came about, again, it was a fluke. I was living in the Philippines. I was DJing in Japan once every sort of 2 months. And before that, when I was over with Josh and all that, playing the deep funk, I was always getting bookings in a city called Kobe and all that. And it's like, anyway, I speaks to Kaz, my agent out there, or the guy that manages me out there and sorts all of my tours out. And he said, okay, but you're not getting Kobe because it's like Northern Soul capital now. It's Japan's capital, and you don't play Northern Soul anymore. This was 12 years ago, about that. And I'm saying, oh, shite, maybe I'll get some Northern, but I'm going to get that fucking nasty, violent white Northern that they used to play at Wigan that nobody plays anymore, because everyone's chasing the same soulful tunes. Nobody's bothering with that nasty white stuff. So I phoned up an old American dealer mate and all that. So like, Barry, you know that nasty white fucking stuff they used to play at Wigan, like the Seven Dwarfs or the Deadbeats and all that? Have you got any of that? He says, yeah, it's called Garage Keb. No, the nasty white stuff at Wigan. No, it's called Garage Keb. Yeah. Play me a garage record then. Or have you heard of the Savoys? No. Can it be? No, never heard of that. All right, I'll play that to you. I was on the phone, like, fucking hell, how much is that? Well, that's like $2,000. I'm taking it. What else is there? Have you heard the Omens? No. I'll play it to you. Fucking hell, how much is that? Well, that's like $400. I'm taking that. Okay. And then he'd done a price guide, Barry Wickham price guide to garage. So I saw that and I bought this garage record price guide, flicked through it, went on YouTube. This is only 12 years ago, so YouTube existed then. Started listening to these records, thinking, holy fucking shit, this is better than I thought it was. And it really did blow my mind. So from this collector that thought he knew it all, suddenly I'm listening to these fucking records that I'd never heard before, that had that the feel of the White Wigan Stompers, like the Seven Dwarfs, which was actually a garage record. I don't know that. The feel, but there was something different. There was a lot more ideas, a lot of weird stuff that was like, whoa, really interesting tunes and all that. And every record goes somewhere, there's a few flat ones, but everything goes somewhere, which was my thing with funk. It was sort of flat, 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 but this stuff goes somewhere. But yeah, I just got right into the garage and started buying like a lunatic. I fucking sold everything. You know, sold all me rock. I'd been collecting rockabilly, and I was playing rockabilly on a Saturday night at JoJo's because I loved rockabilly. And when the Johnny Cash film came out and Amy Winehouse was doing a sort of 50s type sound, I thought, now's the time I can play the rockabilly. I'd collected it for my own personal pleasure, but I thought there's no way it'll work in clubs. No one's ever going to dance to rockabilly in normal clubs, only in rockabilly clubs. But then I started playing it to the general public and it worked. But I sold all that, sold all my fucking soul, sold whatever drabs of funk I had left on that and started buying garage. And still am now. There's so many. You know, it's I have a theory. So if you Northern Soul, it's a few thousand really great records, and the rest are okay and average, and loads of shit ones. Funk, there's a few hundred really great records, and the rest are average shit. Garage, there's fucking thousands of great ones. And every country on the world made a garage record. But unfortunately, because they were garage, they never made it to big labels in the shops, so they're all fucking rare. But there's so many of them all over the planet. I was amazed the amount of great records from Australia and New Zealand that are like, wow, this is as good as the Kinks ever were, or the Pretty Things. Fucking tremendous. But they never made it, you know? And yeah, that's my thing, because that'll last me till I die, because there's just so many. And unfortunately, because the majority of them are so fucking rare, it'll take me a long time to get them. You know, and I can't find them anymore. I have to pay for them. You know, I'm paying £2,000-3,000 a time for them. You can't go out and find them for $2. So that's my thing now, and I love it. And it works so well with young people, especially. I do a thing called the Cave Club with my mate Reese, way out of the orders, and it's just young kids going fucking wild to the 60s, you know, psychedelic, garagey, thumpy beat stuff. I think it's the most powerful stuff I've ever played in my whole fucking career as a DJ. This garage is the most powerful stuff for clubs.
Whereabouts are you doing that? Is that in London?
In London. I do it in London. I do it fucking everywhere, you know. Beirut, fucking Japan, you know, France, Germany, Spain, everywhere. But the Cave Club's London.
Right. So you mentioned that you were living in Philippines. Did you move there so that you had access to go and do the well-paid gigs in Japan?
No, really. My wife's from the island. So I met my wife. I was out in the Philippines DJing, and I met Edith and all that. A couple of years later, we're married. She comes here, and then she invites me to go to her home island, which is a wee fucking island and all that. Actually, she was still living there when I first visited. I was on a tour in Australia and New Zealand, and I buys a Lonely Fucking Planet guide, you know, for the Philippines and all that. She said, oh, come and I'll take you to Eastern Samar. So whatever you do when visiting the Philippines, do not go to Eastern Samar. The rebels will kidnap you and sell your kidneys to buy weapons. I'm like, holy shit, that's where I'm going. Fucking... So I goes out there, and then a mate with me who's a martial artist as well. And we're going there. And fucking... no, this was later, after I'd finished the house. So I goes out there anyway, first time out there. And you can tell I talk a lot. So I sat for 2 days and didn't say a thing. And Edith was like, are you all right, honey? You're awful quiet. You're normally fucking yappy. I fucking love it. I want to live here. Okay? And it was just that place with a coral reef and white sandy beach. It was right in the jungle. There was no shops. The nearest shop's like 4 hours away. And all that. And it was real jungle. Old women coming out of the fucking jungle with machetes dripping with blood and shit like that, and Kalashnikovs over their shoulder and all that. Anyway, the rebels, a few years later, I built a house there. And fucking... I'm sitting there one day with my mate Marcello, who was into the sword. Eventually I got into Japanese sword, but although... So he came out because he thought, brilliant, we can fucking cut bamboo for the rest of our days and have fun. Anyway, there's a knock on the door, and my wife goes to the door and says, oh, can you leave your guns outside, please? So in walk all these fucking rebels with teeth missing and fucking big scars and all that. Oh, fucking hell. Would you like a cup of tea, boys? What the fuck's tea? They all speak English, you see, because it was an American colony, which was very lucky. Right. And all that. Yeah, what the fuck's tea? You'll find out in a wee minute. There's a cup of tea each and all that. And I find out that 2 of the fucking NPA, New People's Army rebels, are fucking relatives of mine now. I'm like, all right then, fair enough. Then Sitting there for half an hour, laughing and joking with these cunts. Out comes the whiskey. I've actually got pictures on my Facebook of 3 of the rebels before the whiskey, and then after the whiskey, slouched to the table with vomit over them. And so they weren't that strong with the whiskey. Anyway, about after a fucking hour or whatever, there's another knock on the door. And it's the chief of fucking police and one of his policemen, who's also a fucking relative. And he walks in, and I look at Marcello and I say, right, I'll stop them drawing their guns, just with the eyes. We didn't speak, and you stop them getting to their guns. There's going to be a fucking bloodbath here. And the chief of police walks up to fucking Manu Norban, who's a relative of mine, and says, Manu Norban, how you doing? I've not seen you for a while, blah, 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 blah. What's that you're drinking? Oh, it's Keb's tea. Don't know what it is. Do you want to try some? I'm like, aren't you cunts meant to be shooting each other? I read in my Lonely Planets guide. Oh, that's a load of shit, Keb. I'm the chief of police here. The thing is, you see, I get paid 3 times as much as police chief in Manila. They never come and investigate, you know. I send in a report once a year that we got a hand grenade thrown into the police station and 2 of my men were shot at, and they never bother, and I get my big wages. We haven't had a hand grenade for 20 years. I'm like, oh, all right then. Fair enough. So that was the guerrillas. They all became good pals, as did the chief of police, etc. So yeah, I enjoyed the Philippines. It was a fucking wild place, but great fun.
So this might be my really bad memory, but I swear I remember reading some stuff online. It might have even just been one post where someone was like, has anyone seen Keb Darge?
No, that went fucking everywhere. Kenny Dope was speaking to my brother and my sister. They were all panicking. The typhoon.
Oh,
so
that's it.
There was a great big typhoon. And all that. I was fucking lucky, I suppose. I was very lucky. I'd been on a tour of Europe, and I got back to Manila the week before. I had a few mates in Manila, and I was out drinking with them, and they said, when are you going back to Hernani, Keb? Oh, probably Saturday. Oh, you won't get back on Saturday. What do you mean? There's a big typhoon coming. Have you not heard? No, I've been in Europe. Oh, you better go back tomorrow. I said, okay, we'll go back tomorrow then. So I got a flight from Manila to Tacloban, and I get on the flight, and there's 3 foreigners on the aeroplane. I'm like, fucking hell, that's unusual. So I start yapping to them, and they're Americans. So, hi, I work for the New York Times. I'm a storm chaser. Yeah, I work for the so-and-so Herald. Yeah, I'm a storm chaser. And I, who do you work for? Well, no, I'm a DJ. Well, what you going here for? I live there. You live there, sir? There's going to be a lot of death tomorrow. A lot of death. Now, I tell you what you need to do. You need to board up your windows, get everyone into the room with the least amount of windows and all that, and just keep your head down. Pull tables over. This is going to be horrific. I thought, oh, all right, fair enough. So I gets back, and nobody in Hernani knew, you know. Nobody had warned them what was coming. So I gets back, and I fucking gets Edith and Tata and all that. Go and get all your fucking pals, all the neighbours, get all your fucking uncles and aunties, get them into my house, because my house was the only real house. They were in sort of nipa huts, you know, just huts with fucking corrugated iron roofs. Get every cunt into the house, and I'm boarding up the fucking windows. And I heard the guy had said to me, get all your people into the room with the least windows. So I looked at all the children, and I thought, children can move if some glass flies towards them. Records can't. Children, would you help Tito help your uncle move all the records into that room with the one small window, please? So I did. I moved all the fucking records into the safe room and left the kids out hiding behind tables. And fucking, when the thing kicked off, there wasn't any glass that came in, the whole fucking window frame came in, the roof came off, fucking, the place was minced. I'm like, holy fuck. Then I went out looking for Manu Norban because nobody had seen him, and there was fucking pigs flying over my head and motorbikes flying in there and shit like that. Holy fuck, this is fucking mental. Couldn't find Manu Norban. I found him a few days later. He was a mile back in the jungle, picking up other people's corrugated iron roofs and building his own dream house out of the rubble from other people's houses. He was a rebel, so he didn't have a house, but he was building one in the jungle anyway. I'm like, well done, clever boy. Anyway, I goes down the fucking hill to Hernani. I was like, shit, where the fuck's Hernani gone? Hernani was a town with a population of like 3,000, and in front of me is this giant puddle. Nothing, not a trace of the fucking buildings. I'm like, holy fuck. I found out later there was 10,000 dead, including 15 of Edith's family and shit like that. So that was that sort of fucked, and my house was pretty well fucked. And that's why I came back to London, because, we stayed there for about a month, and eventually I got in with the fucking Marines and the Red Cross, because the mayor was a twisted fucker and all that. And there was no internet, that's why everyone thought I was dead. They're looking at the red spot of the thing, fuck me, that's where Keb lives,
Yeah.
10,000 dead in this area. And it's like, that's where Keb lives, he must be dead. So that's where you held your panic and all that. Anyway, I had a fight with the fucking mayor. He was stealing the relief goods and hiding it so he could ship it on lorries to Manila once the roads were rebuilt and all that. I was getting locals to tell me where he was hiding the stuff so I could go and photograph it for when the internet did come back on so I could expose him. And the cunt shot 3 of my fucking mates that were helping me. And the last one, my mother-in-law came in and says, Keb, you got to fuck off. Why is that? The last one, who was a mate who'd been helping me, they'd fucking I had a sort of beach that I went to, which everyone called Keb's Beach eventually, because they couldn't understand why foreigners want white sandy beaches and all that. Anyway, they'd got this guy, they'd cut his head, arms and legs off, poked him up in a fucking bamboo spike, poured petrol on him, set fire to him and left him on my beach. And it was like, that's a warning, you'd better fuck off. So eventually fucking picked up a couple of boxes of records and we fucked off. I was like, oh well, this is getting a bit rough now. But I did manage to get my report out. It was in the Daily Mail. They came over and interviewed me. There was some Japanese fucking newspaper came and interviewed me. And the mayor got fucking done after that. Duterte fucking sacked him, hanged him in prison. Except they said, we got it right. But yeah, that was it. Then I was in Manila. I was staying at my mate's house and I was slagging off the government because I'd found out that the government were involved in selling the relief goods. I took the Daily Mail guy to a local fucking mall and here was USAID food packages on sale for £2 each. And some cunt stole in that. And I was slagging off the government and it came on national television, the Home Secretary saying this Keb Darge is a liar, a racist, da-da-da-da-da. Except then the guy I was staying with in Manila, who's a British teacher, says, Keb, they won't just do that, They'll come here and shoot all of us. They don't bother. The government will send someone, they'll let them out of prison, give them guns, give them your photo, they'll kill the fucking lot of us. Can you please go back to London? I said, all right, fuck it, I'll go back to London then. We're not going to win this war. Except but then the country elected Duterte, who everyone slags off. Duterte's a monster. No, he wasn't. He was a fucking hero that cleaned the country up beautifully. There you go. So that was me back to London with my garage collection and starting doing garage nights.
So the records survived?
Of course, yeah. And the children survived. So my house was up on a hill, and the houses were badly built,
Yeah.
I'd fucking, my whole family were architects. My uncle, my fucking dad, my brother, my fucking ex-wife, all architects. So I designed the house, and it was good enough to withstand a typhoon.
Yeah.
Their houses weren't, so they got minced, but I didn't. And it was the wave that fucking killed everyone. So we were up on the hill, and it was just the big wave that fucking just washed every cunt away. I was out looking for bodies for 3 weeks, fucking, and you found them either about half a mile into the jungle, all piled up, or there was a helicopter where the Philippine Air Sea Rescue boys came, and I'm yapping to them one day and made pals with them. Okay, you're lucky. You want to see the ones we got to pull out of the sea. I'm like, oh, all right then. Oh, here's a good one. So I thought I'll go down to the sea and they were all fucking puffed up and, weird-looking creatures nibbled at by crabs and shit like that. But also, I'm walking along the beach fucking so I wanted them to burn the bodies. I wasn't just finding bodies for the fun. Oh, look, I found a body. I knew about typhoid, cholera, all that kind of shit. The locals didn't. And I'm trying to convince them to burn all these fucking bodies, you daft bastards, which they weren't going to do until this helicopter arrived from the Philippine Air, whatever, convinced them to burn them and mass bury them. Anyway, I'm on the fucking beach, and the beach is strewn with 45s. Like, manna from heaven. I thought, is God rewarding me for what I've just gone through? And there's all these fucking 7 inches on the fucking beach. I'm like, holy shit. And I found some really good fucking surf instrumentals by Filipino bands, and most of them were broken, but there was, about that many that weren't broken that were good records. I'm like, what the fuck's this? And then I speak to Edith, and oh yes, that'll be old, whatever his name was. He was a DJ in Manila in the 60s on the radio and all that. And then when he retired, he moved up here and must have taken all his records with him. So his house had disappeared, he disappeared, and all his records were scattered around over the beach. I'm like, oh, well, that's a bit of luck then. There's a silver lining and everything. But yeah, And then I went back to London then after that.
So was it easy to kick on with the garage rock stuff, kind of building
No,
nice?
it took a while, no. So there's been a garage scene in Britain, in London and in Germany and places like that since the 80s. There was a scene kicked off. Rob Bailey, who used to come to the 100 Club, but he was one of them young mods at the Albany Club, was Rob Bailey. He was in the Northern, then he got into this garage thing, and he pretty well started a garage scene here. But they kept it underground, and they were promoting it themselves, and it was a sort of older crowd and all that. And I thought, I don't want to do that. It's, like the Northern scene became too sceney for me. I want to play this music to every cunt, and I love seeing people's expressions or feeling what they're feeling when they hear records, that they think, whoa, what's this? And you get that when you play to people who aren't into scenes. When you play to scenes nowadays, you get chin scratching and yes, we can do the blah, 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 blah. Say, fuck off. Let me play it to normal people. So no, it's taken off now with sort of younger people, yeah. And I got in with Reese Webb, great bloke, great DJ, tremendous collection, all that, and started doing the Cave Club with him. And yeah, it's got a good following now. Well, it has had for a while, but there's a lot of real young people. And I'm doing things, skittering around and seeing younger people, hanging about with 22-year-olds and stuff like that. Nice. Which is very nice. Yeah, they call me Uncle Keb. It's very nice of them. Yeah.
So, and you're working with the label now. When we spoke before, you kind of mentioned that it was post-lockdown you were struggling to get any DJ.
Yeah, no work. Yeah, well, no work in lockdown, and then sort of other kind of jobs opened up, but they wouldn't open up clubs for a year or whatever it was. Clubs weren't allowed to open up, and then when they did open up, half of them had gone, and there was a million promoters trying to book 17 clubs. I was like, oh fuck, this is really hard. So my mate Eddie Crosdale, who run the 100 Club, who was the guy that I met in 1979 when I came to London, who was playing the 60s stuff. So he was the label, he ran the label Kent, which is a subsidiary of Ace. Ace is it's like the biggest reissue label and longest running on the planet or something, I think.
So were they doing because Kent did a lot in the sort of late 80s, didn't they?
Yeah. They introduced Northern Soul to the world. So Kent CDs and records introduced all your Europeans and Japanese to Northern, because they could buy it then. They couldn't buy it before Kent started putting it all out, etc. That was Kent. That's part of Ace. So Eddie and Kent sit next to me, and I sit here in the office and all that. And Eddie came. He actually came to a night I was DJing at to listen to the garage stuff, because he came to deep funk and stuff like that. He thought, oh well, Keb's got good ears, I'll probably hear some good records if I go to listen to the fucker. So he came to listen to the fucker. Then he's, okay, I'll buy you a drink and all that. I said, nah, Eddie, I can't get you one back, I'm fucking skint. Are you skint? I'll buy you a drink anyway. And then a few minutes later he comes out, are you skint? Yeah. No work. Do you want a job? Yeah. Do you want to work at Ace Records? Yeah. Start Monday. Yeah. That was it. Started Monday. And I'm still there. It's great. I love it. I get to go through master tapes of unreleased stuff and shit like that. So Ace is fucking huge. They got all your funkadelic stuff. Girls Got Hair and blah, blah, blah for that rare groovy scene. We got the Cramps. We got Motorhead. We got, it's a big label. But we also got small things, which is interesting for me.
So do you focus more on the smaller, rarer stuff then?
Yeah. Same
awesome.
From the teachings from Richard Searling. Make sure the records are obscure and rare and nobody else can play them, and make sure they're good. So I'm still on that thing. And I've got access to unreleased stuff. So I've got a DJ bag at the moment. It's got about fucking 10 unreleased things that I've cut onto carvers that eventually we'll put out. But give me a year playing them myself, then we'll put them out. Type thing.
Nice.
So I did that.
So that's still the ethos from the Northern scene.
Still the ethos from Wigan Casino, from copying Richard Searling. Yeah, that's it.
That's brilliant. And so where else can people tend to see you regularly then? Is it mainly the Cavern?
Cave Club. Yeah, Cave Club in Hackney. That's the only thing regular. I get the odd booking here and there, but most of my work's abroad. It's taken off here, the garage thing. There's quite a few garage nights, but young folk doing it, but I don't think they're thinking, fuck, if we book Keb Darge, we've got to pay him £1,000. I'm like, no, you don't. But I think that's going through their heads. So I'm seeing who they're booking. Why don't you book me, you fuckers? I'll do it better than that. So I think they're frightened of the Keb Darge name somehow. But there's young kids doing garage nights now. Young kids doing Northern Soul nights now, fucking all over fucking. which is nice, and doing it for young kids, not for the old gotchers.
Yeah, awesome. And where can people find you online?
Well, I'm on Instagram. I do a weekly show on Rover. Have you heard of them? ROVR. It's a new platform like Mixcloud, SoundCloud. They just started this year.
Okay.
And they're planning to take over SoundCloud and Mixcloud and dominate them. So I'm doing a show with them every week. And they're actually flying me out to Japan in June. And they're doing a Rover Japan tour with Keb Darge and whoever else they're having. So I do that every week. But there's no talking. It's just I select music. It's a platform and you listen to 2 hours of music I've selected. You get the titles and all that shit. But as you can tell, I like talking.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's been amazing. Thanks so much for sharing all that. I've had a really fun time.
I'm glad you have.
And I hope it's been good for you as well, because I've learned a lot there.
I know, I do yap a lot. And then, like I say, if you go through it and you think, oh shit, I should ask Keb about that, just fucking give us a phone and I'll get online again now that I know my wife's computer works.
Oh, I appreciate that, mate.
All right, no worries.
Excellent. Well, I'll sign off with you then, and I just want to say, thanks very much for your time.
No, no bother. Aye, nice to speak to you, and thanks for being interested in me.
Oh, definitely, mate, definitely. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Once a DJ. If you'd like to support the show, then head to onceadj.com/support to find out how you can help. If you'd like to get in touch with any feedback or suggestions, email onceadjpodcast@gmail.com. Once a DJ is produced by the good people at Remote Control. If you'd like to find out more about working with them, head to remote-ctrl.co.uk.